And what's up, fam? Welcome to the first installment of Metaphysics on Your Mind. Metaphysics on Your Mind. And what this series of presentations is going to be is in the realm of what we would call metaphysics. What is the meaning of metaphysics? Basically, metaphysics is a branch of philosophy that looks at the nature of reality. Okay, so there are different divisions, but ultimately it is a philosophical approach to understanding what, the big questions. Why are we here? Who are we? Are we really here? Do we really exist? So on and so forth. So it's a very broad, general, kind of amorphous discipline, the nature of reality. So again, it's metaphysics, okay? How we're gonna do this though, is we have to have an approach. And our approach, which in metaphysics they will sometimes refer to as ontological, which is where we look at religion, shall we say. We're going to approach this through something called what I would label the Bible and meditation. Okay? Okay, the Bible. Almost everyone at least knows what the Bible is. And meditation, people differ on their understanding of what meditation is. We're gonna basically explore and examine both of these areas. We're gonna put forth a proposition. The proposition is that the Bible is actually a form of metaphysics that is trying to convey that you should meditate. Okay? We're going to go through all that. Don't take anything that I say at face value. We're going to do it in an exploratory manner. And you can see over here, we have what I call our set piece, because our set piece is obviously, this represents the earth. The earth obviously doesn't look like that. This is a symbol. This is a representation of earth. You can see we've got land, we have a tree, a mountain. This is a boat out here in an ocean that encircles this particular presentation or representation of land or earth. We have a person, a human, holding a book. We have these colored circles, which will go into what they represent. The D here represents desert. The W over here represents wilderness. This is shall we say, a city or a town with its port. This house is symbolic of the house that this human lives in. We have a river. We have another little village on the side of the mountainside here. So this is a symbol or representation. This is one half of our set piece. The upper half of our set piece, we're going to call the sky. So the dome of the sky above us is the upper half of our set piece. And as you can see, there's some lettering in here that basically is talking about the four elements. We know what the four elements are. Everybody knows. earth, air, water. This is not the order, of course, but those are the four elements, okay? Our thesis is that the Bible and meditation is actually not, the Bible is not a religious book. It is not a book to be taken literally. It is a book of mysticism that deals with the nature of reality, the nature of who you are, who I am, and it comes through a lineage where it did not begin in the desert. It actually began in ancient Kemet, which we know today as Egypt. The majority of the religious systems that have been developed over the last probably 10,000 years have, their fountainhead was ancient Kemet. And the Bible comes through us through Jewish mystics, who, the Old Testament being originally in Aramaic, the New Testament in Greek. We're going to go through all of that. You don't have to try to put all this together right now. We're going to be connecting dots from installment to installment. But we just need to have some parameters of how we're going to work this. How are we going to investigate whether what I'm saying is actually the case? That the Bible is actually, in fact, let's go back to the top. So we're talking about metaphysics that ask questions about the nature of reality. And the Bible answers those questions, as does meditation. Okay? But we're going to go into that. This is just our overview of what we're going to need to do to do our exploration. Okay? So I started the set piece. This sky isn't completed yet, but again, as you can see, it's the four elements which are going to become very important in our discussion. There's going to be some other disciplines that we're going to have to utilize to properly get into a study of a book of mysticism, which is what the Bible is. The New Testament, for example, is heavily Greek mythology, but written by Jewish mystics or Hellenistic Jews, which means that they spoke Greek. Again, the Old Testament being in Aramaic, also a book of Jewish mysticism. So hence you have the Judeo-Christian ethos, Judaism, Christianity. They also have another offshoot called Islam. But we're going to confine our discussion for the most part to the study of the Bible and how the Bible itself is not literal. That's our thesis. You don't have to believe that. I know there's many people out there that think that, the Bible is the inerrant, not capable of error, the inerrant word of God, and that everything in there is literally true and all the characters in there literally existed. We're going to explore that and see if that's really the case. But the thesis that we're going to go with is that it's not literal and not even religious. Okay? Not even religious. What it is, this is with our thesis. Again, I'm not asking anyone to accept this at face value. Let's just roll with it and we'll see where we end up. But I can tell you it's going to be a wild ride, and it's going to be, I believe, an eye-opener for some people that have not had access to a lot of information that might explain things when you're talking about ancient scriptures and documents like the Bible, It's very important that you understand that you're moving in different waters. But anyway, we'll get to that. So we're saying the Bible is not literal. It's not necessarily or even religious. It's actually a book about you. Okay? It's a book about for lack of a better word, the conflict between something called spirit and flesh. Okay? It's actually a book about you and me. It's also a book about this tug of war between your spiritual nature and your physical or fleshly nature. It's also a book of cosmic psychology. It's one of the, if not, well, I would say it probably is the premier document if you understand what you're reading in cosmic psychology. And we're going to see how this interplay, when I say cosmic, we're talking about, generally speaking, the cosmos. This, the sky, or the heavens, or the universe, whatever you want to call that, is what the philosophically you would say is the macrocosm, the big picture. Okay? Man or human is actually, well, let's skip to Earth. Earth, so all the universe is the macrocosm. Earth is the mesocosm. So in a way, it's kind of in the middle. Macro, big picture. Meso, not as big of a picture. We're going to keep all this stuff as simple as possible because it can be understood, and it can be understood by anyone who's willing to open their mind and kind of scoot away the preconceived notions and the preconceived ideas. And let's just see where we go. And then this guy, we call the space there. This guy is which means you and me, the microcosm. Okay? So the big picture, the medium picture, and the picture in miniature. What we're going to find out is man is actually the measure of the universe. There's an old ancient saying, as above, so below. As within, so without. We're going to explore that. So we have our thesis, right? We know where the word cosmic comes from. We have macrocosm, microcosm, mesocosm, which is cosmic, right? That's everything in different degrees. Okay, so now, in order to go a little further, we're going to say what we need to use to get a little deeper into this. Okay. The other thing we're saying, if that hasn't become clear already, is that there's no possibility that you can understand a book like called the Bible if you do not have some tools that you may or may not have had experience or exposure to. There's just no way. I already mentioned the Greek mythology, and we're going to go through why. So, number one, why is it important that we learn about what the Bible is really speaking about and about meditation? Why it's important is that it can help you with your life. We're going to go through the book, and we're also going to discuss how that book is basically an illustration of how you work and how the universe works, but it's coded. It's in a code. It's not speaking, as a matter of fact, it says it over and over that they're speaking parables. So it's very important that we understand that ancient man understood that man best learned with images, which is why man wrote with symbols: a bird, a sun, a moon, a rock, a tree. Because why? From generation to generation, from time to time, a rock's always a rock, water's always water, fire's always fire, light is always light. Those are constants. So these stories are illustrated in symbols and superimposed in many cases over existing historical places or cities or towns. But what's being illustrated isn't literally the truth, but the truth is within. And what that's called is you have let me know when we're up to 20. Exoteric and esoteric. Exoteric is the cover. It's what you see on the outside. Esoteric is what's hidden. So when you hear someone speak about esoteric knowledge, it means hidden knowledge. Exoteric is what's on the surface. So the Bible, in many cases, those stories, parables, narratives have an exoteric aspect to them, which is what you're actually reading, but they are covering a hidden meaning. Okay? That's the key, is that there's exoteric, what's on the surface, what seems to be what it's, conveying, and then what is it really conveying? We're going to go into that. Okay? Well, we need some tools. So one of the things we're going to be doing is we're going to do what I call sampling without the G. And what these are 7 disciplines or 7 areas that you may or may not have a lot of knowledge about. You might, but you might not, and exposure to. And without these, in my opinion, you're going to have a difficult time penetrating and decoding not only the Bible, but mythology in general, which we're also going to discuss at length, because it's just the nature of it. So S is for symbolism. Symbolism is the study of symbols, the meaning of symbols. This is a symbol, right? Symbol of Earth. It has all the constituents, trees and greenery and mountain and water and so on and so forth. So this is not the Earth. It's not a replica of the Earth. It's a representation of the Earth, okay? And then next we have And don't worry, you don't need to know any of this stuff right now. We're going to be going through this stuff time and again, back and forth. We're going to keep it simple. We're going to keep it streamlined in a way that I believe could be beneficial to people that may not have had a whole lot of knowledge about this stuff, okay? Astrotheology. And what that is astro, the study of the stars. Theology, we know, is related to religion. So basically, the study of the stars in astronomy and astrology produced the results of those studies, produced something called theology, which we know today as religion. Okay, we're going to go into that. But very important that you have some grounding in astrology and astronomy. I know a lot of people are scared of astrology and it's this and it's that. Nothing could be further from the truth. You cannot understand the Bible without understanding astrology as well as astronomy. But you don't have to be a scientist. We're going to get into it, but you have to have an understanding of it. Next, we have mythology. In the mythology, as I already mentioned, that we have the Greeks, or Greek mythology, which forms a huge basis of the New Testament. But we're also going to talk about ancient Kemet, which was their precursor, came before the mythologies that would then lead into what would develop as the Bible. So mythology is very important because mythology tells a story. It's not literally true, but it tells a story that's extremely important. We're going to go into this, which is maybe the most important of all, psychology. We already mentioned that cosmic psychology is kind of like what the Bible's talking about. But psychology in general, as it pertains to the human mind, that's really going to be what we're going to go into, because all of this stuff ultimately ends up getting sifted right here in the psyche of the human mind. This one, linguistics, which is just a study of language, study of how words develop, etymology, what was their origin, what happens when certain words are translated into other languages, how meanings could be changed and what have you. You must have an understanding of figures of speech, which would be like metaphor, allegory, and parable. The Apostle Paul in the New Testament says that Jesus never spoke but in a parable. We're going to go into all that. So that's linguistics. The eye is not a particular discipline, but it's something that is absolutely essential to go into. And this stands for intuition. Intuition. Your intuition. Your inner teacher will help you with this. What's the word? Intuition? Intuition. You have an inner teacher within you that will help you to understand these concepts as we go through them. You're going to use your intuition. And last but not least, numerology. It's said by many great scientists and thinkers, all is number. Every number has a meaning, just like everything has a vibration. We're all energy, but when we move it, we'll discuss what happens when energy is converted into matter. We have vibration. 1, 2, 3, 4, they all have a different vibration. They all have a different number, and extremely important to understand the numerology in the ancient documents like the Bible. So that's it for our little intro. Stay with us for the follow-up installment where we're going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to get in and finish off our sky here on our set piece, and we're going to talk a little bit more about the intersection of the Bible, meditation, how it affects you, why it's important, so on and so forth. And appreciate you checking this out. If you dig it, they say to give a thumbs up or this or that and the other. You know what I'm talking about. I guess that'll be helpful. Appreciate you coming. Check you on the next installment. Peace.